Why we're like, oh, that seems nice.
Unbelievable. Okay.
Oi.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Offbeat POV with me, Chin, and my co-host, Nick. This is Offbeat POV. What's that, you ask? I'm glad you asked. I'm going to tell you right now. So, we're just a couple of Christians minding our own business, just trying to make sense of this world. Because, of course, we are in the world, but we ought not to be of the world. So how do we reconcile the two? That is what Offbeat POV is all about. So listen, if it's your first time here and you are interested to see what we do, then please do stick around. But if this is your second, third, or fourth time, then clearly you like a little bit of what we do. So why not consider subscribing? That's it really, just consider subscribing. But other than that, ladies and gents, let's dive straight in.
I'll tell you something. Of all the introductions that you've made,
That was like 5. That was
no. This was the most sort of like fitting introduction to the first discussion that we're about to have.
Okay,
to be
fair
honest
enough.
with you.
I thought it was like mid. I was like, it's
No,
a mid 5, but
No,
yes.
no. I don't rate people's introductions.
I do. I rate your introductions all the time.
That's why I don't do introductions.
Okay.
Now, the reason I'm saying that is because you mentioned that we're just a couple of guys, minding our own business and coming across these things and looking into, what should we do about them as Christians. And I find this the very first conversation we're about to have fit in that very, very well, because we're discussing economic systems, right? Now, I'm not going to lie to you. If ever there was a way to convince me not to be on a certain camp, show me the conversation that Patrick David had with the 20 or 25 anti-capitalists people. Yeah, that would convince me. That would absolutely convince me. It was an absolute annoying conversation to have, because for all, we're all humans.
Not everybody would have seen it, nor would they know exactly what you're talking about. So you have to give context.
We're gonna play an example. There's an example video here that we're gonna play after we've spoken a little bit, because I need to get this out of my system. I don't know what you thought about this, because you have told me that you've seen it in its entirety, right? So I'm referring, of course, to the program, I think on YouTube, called Round Table, something like that. It's
Surrounded.
It's where one particular person, for example, Candice Owens has done one versus feminists. This one was Patrick Davis versus 20 other people who are anti-capitalist, and obviously PBD is for capitalism, being someone that has benefited from it as well. So they sit in the middle of these people, and then the people take turns to debate certain claims that the particular person will put forward. It's a very interesting show. If you do like that kind of things, I know, but like last week, sorry guys, he out here moving things all the time. 1 week I have to look this way, 1 week I have to look that way, and then no wonder I'm confused.
No, it's very simple. Look at the camera.
Yeah, but the camera was there last time.
If the camera is in the ceiling, look at the ceiling. It's as simple as that.
But yes, so I did really, really like this conversation, in the sense that it not completely convinced me not to, but the people that presented their views, in my opinion, they fell short on every single level. The only thing that I could agree with them, is the aspect that we've spoken about before, where, as the one that's more has been given to, there is an obligation, a duty that does not come from the people at the bottom, but as believers, we can say that comes from God, right? For you to help others. But I do not see people at the bottom sitting and demanding. Now, I know I'm not saying anything yet, so let me explain how it came across to me, and this is why I was so frustrated. Okay, now the reason why I was frustrated is because all of them, without a single exception, all of them came across needy, came across demanding, came across putting themselves as victims, came across as if they're expecting people to, especially the rich, to do things for them, right? And what even annoyed me even more than that was the fact that they were upset and annoyed and overlooked the hard work that, for example, a billionaire or millionaire would put into, or the risks that they would take to get where they are, right? And it's almost like they were so annoyed and so angry at somebody for being a billionaire, as if they woke up and just became a billionaire. Now, for me, it's further than that. Even if someone was born into that wealth, right? If you want to trace that wealth, someone, somewhere, somehow worked hard for that wealth, right? And I think for me, that has to be acknowledged before you even start these conversations of, okay, fine, can't you at least share with the small people? You know, but all of them came across so entitled that if I was not doing research for the pod, I probably would have just turned it off, and just be like, this is insane, Now, you're going to tell me what you think, but then the reason why I thought, okay, let's be fair and throw this on the pod, right? 2 verses came to mind that, now these are not the entirety or the extent of the verses, but you might help me if there are more, but 2 not opposing verses per se, but 2 interesting verses. The first one was one that talks about he that shall not work should not eat, or something like that, right? Paraphrase. And the second one is an experience that happened in Acts when they all had things in common and they shared food, divided equally amongst them, right? So essentially, what I want us to debate or discuss right now is what the Bible is more for. Is it pro-capitalism, for example, or is it more pro-communism kind of society? If we could have a nation like the Israelites had, for example, the kingdom, or let's call it the kingdom of God today, if the kingdom of God was physical and we could identify it and travel to it, what kind of economic system would they be living under, do you think? Because I was torn. Like I said, I understood why we could argue for communism. I can understand that, right? That looks after everybody. There's almost that heart of you're working for the people kind of thing. But then at the same time, looking at all these people, it's almost like inspiring, promoting laziness and an entitled mentality, low-key egoistic, actually. I hated everything about them. I'm not gonna do, like, I just hated all their views about them. So it's like, so which is it then? And that's why I brought those 2 verses together. And like I said, there might be more that will speak more of working, especially of working. But what do you think is economic system? So even if we bring it present day tense, if there was a physical kingdom of God, or if there was a nation on earth right now, 2025, where we could physically travel to, what economic system as prescribed by the Bible do you think they would ascribe to, or we would be ascribing to as Christians? I say they as if they are outside. But what and the reason I'm asking that is because of what I've already said, because on one hand, you have this aspect, the communism or socialism aspect of it, which is more like looking out for everybody, even the rich are forced to have to give out their money. And in fact, being a billionaire, like we said before, is not even encouraged. It's almost like, why do you want all that money, for example? Which I can sort of like, okay, we can have a conversation there. And then you have this other side where it's like, no, you need to work for your things. You need to work for your money, which the Bible also talks about. A lazy man should not eat. A man that does not work shall not eat. The toil of your hands and things like that. So being that both capitalism and communism that we're discussing at the moment, based on those 2 verses I've just quoted, technically can be pulled out of the Bible, what is the right mentality for Christians to have in this topic in the present tense times?
I don't know. And it's interesting you asked that, because shortly after I watched this Surrounded, but then also another Surrounded as well, I can't remember which, I did have that question. And also the conversation of economics and the rich versus poor, and the economy, especially with the whole immigrant situation and everything else, that conversation has been going around in my head. And I did tell myself a couple of, I want to say maybe like a week and a half ago, to say, you know what, maybe I should have a look at the Bible to see what economic system the Bible supports. I just haven't got around to it yet. However,
I thought you were about to break. I thought you were about to boom.
no, I haven't got around to it. But obviously, I have thoughts based on what I already know. But then, it's different pulling verses that you know and concepts you know,
Exactly.
which is different to looking into it with that question in mind, right? But from where I am right now, from what I can say is that I don't think the Bible prescribes an economic system.
Right.
Going back to the conversation we had last week, in that I think the Bible can work with various economic systems because the Bible puts forth principles of life, of attitude, of behavior, of mentality, and everything that we as people should have. Now, I believe those principles can exist in a capitalist society. I believe they can exist in a socialist society. I believe they can even exist in a communist society. Now, obviously, if you look at history, they will show you that socialist and communist societies, a lot of them, not even a lot of them, I think pretty much all of them, have ended up descending into not great places to live in. And I think that's one of the biggest arguments that people will say, oh, no, you see, this is why, communism is bad. This is why socialism is bad. But then obviously people who appreciate what the heart of socialism and communism are trying to do, which is make sure everybody has their needs met. They're like, no, they just haven't been done properly. And the people are like, what? 5,000 years and nobody has done it properly? Or is it that maybe they're just not systems that work?
Just can't work.
Now, from where I sit right now, okay, first and foremost, to answer your question, my position is I don't know if the Bible prescribes an economic system. Before I go on to what I want to say next, maybe let me throw it to you and see whether you agree with that statement, disagree. Where are you with that question? What do you think the biblical economic system looks like?
What do you think they had in Israel back in the days?
I mean,
When they had,
we don't have to think, though. It's there in the Bible. They had all the laws, they had buying and selling laws. It is a form of capitalism. It wasn't socialism, it wasn't communism. It was a form of capitalism.
So yeah, absolutely. So that's what I'm asking. It wouldn't fit on any of the three big ones we are discussing, isn't it?
No, not entirely. And that's why the thing about capitalism that I think has a lot of merit is that it is able to, it's flexible, right? So with capitalism, it doesn't mean everybody has to be out for themselves. I'm stronger than you, whatever, boo, I get rich at your expense. That doesn't have to be the case. Obviously, people who are greedy and ambitious like that exploit that because capitalism allows for that. But it doesn't have to be. So, for example, in the Bible, everybody has their fields. Everybody does their work. You get your harvest. If it's plentiful, great. You have a good year. If it's not plentiful, that's a tough year for you. However, it tells you, leave the outside for the strangers and for the foreigners. So even in that, it's telling you, look out for those who haven't got the opportunities that you have.
Absolutely.
Not everybody has a field that they can work to get the harvest and then sell or produce whatever. It acknowledges there are people who may be foreigners, traveling, refugees or whatever. Leave the outside of your field so that they can benefit, so that they can eat those. So, but then with capitalism, that's why we have things like social welfare, benefits, free school, free healthcare. Except one could argue that's the leaving the outside. One could argue it's not that, but. And so for me, that's why I don't think capitalism is inherently evil. However,
there's a however.
However, having said that, the more you do look into capitalism, I appreciate the argument that it does breed greed. It does breed greed. It can drive people into making unethical decisions for the sake of the shareholders. Because for them, it's, those business meetings, okay, how much profit did we make this year? So next year, they want to make more profit. Next year, they want to make more profit. And so companies like Facebook, Google, Amazon, they'll start doing things that harm society. Their aim isn't to harm society, but their aim is to, how can we make more money?
Okay. So, in all fairness, in my plan today, I knew that this was going to take quite a bit of time.
I mean, this is a big, it's a topic I'm weeding through. So if you find me ranting and be just talking, just stop. You're going too far because I have a lot of thoughts in my head right now about it.
Let me also answer your question then. The reason why I asked that is because I'm not claiming to be an expert on the economic systems. Okay, so based on what the little that I know, which is what capitalism is basically, for example, versus what communism is, and one bad thing that you've just mentioned, amongst others that might come up, I'm seeing that the Bible would promote more capitalism than anything else. Okay?
I don't know about promote, but I don't think it speaks against it.
Yes.
I don't think it.
So let me put it this, or rather, that's what I would expect in a kingdom of let's say believers, if it was on earth. Now, the reason I'm saying that is because you remember the point that we are always making, which is the Bible speaks to you as a person. Okay, so if you are reading the Bible, or if you are listening to the Word of God firsthand as you, a lot of the excuses or reasons, there's basically no room for you to be lazy, right? There's no room for you not to work. There's always going to be something that you can do, right? Now, the reason why that's important to me is because, like one of the clips that we're going to play here, there's a certain level of victimhood that almost puts people in a place of, well, I can't do that, therefore people need to do it for me, right? But I can't trace that in the Bible. That doesn't make sense. Or I can't ascribe to that mentality. There's no way I can get myself to saying that, okay, fine, you know what, yeah, that's fine, sit and do nothing.
No.
Then
So
we'll look after you.
yeah. So and
You see what I mean?
I don't think you'll be hard pressed. Obviously, from us lot who are maybe looking into the views and seeing what people are thinking, we can reach that conclusion. But I don't think anyone who is against capitalism will say, oh no, we're advocating for people to be lazy, or we're advocating for people to not do anything. I don't think, I'll be fair to them and say, I don't think anyone in that camp will.
But do you think they may
will say that?
Do you
now,
think
obviously, no. In us analyzing that position, we can say, no, you are. Maybe not intentionally, but you're encouraging people to be lazy, or you're allowing room for people to be lazy. That's fair. But we have to be clear that, we have to be clear to say that that's our analysis, because I'll guarantee you there's no one who is anti-capitalism who say, no, I hate it because it forces me to work.
No, they're not going to say that straight up. But in what they're arguing, you hear that. The second thing to what I was saying is because, like you said that there's room to breed greediness, right? Well, that's addressed. Even room for wealth, extensive wealth, or whatever, ambitions, that's also addressed. You're talking
about in the Bible?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because if you talk about, for example, greediness and whatnot, again, we are starting from a premise of these are believers. You see, so we are already governed against that. So even looking after the society, looking after yourselves, even the moral decision we're making, if you are gonna, for the sake of money, do something unethical, knowingly that this is unethical, for example, then already you are off the path. Does that make sense?
No, I don't disagree, because if you're talking about a land in which everybody is Christians and are meant to be living according to the ideals of God, then yeah, I don't disagree with what you're saying. But then also,
even if it's not a land, even if we're talking about the mentality that Christians should have.
But then also, I guess what I'm saying is, whether that land is a capitalist, socialist, or communist land, if it's a land full of believers, I wouldn't see an issue, because in everything you're saying, we will all refer back to the Bible and say, okay, how in a communist society, how are we ought to behave according to what the Bible gives us, which is obviously the Bible is very clear against being lazy. You read Proverbs, read Psalm, God hates laziness, right? So already you can't be in a communist society and be like, chilling, I'm just gonna lay down. No, because get up, go to work. That's what God expects you to do. So again, in a capitalist society, vice versa, you can't be overly greedy, stamping on people's toes, whatever, because again, the Bible is all about love thy neighbor, be kind, for the benefit of the brethren, etc. So, and that's why I think at the moment, I'm thinking, no, I think the Bible, the economic system is like culture. The Bible transcends it. It sits above it,
so
and
it agrees
informs
with
it.
what's good, and it will be
it sits above it and informs it. You say that, okay, if you want to do this, this is how you ought to do it. If you want to do this, this is how you ought to do it. However, having said that, I would agree to say that what we do see in the Bible is more capitalism than socialism or communism.
I think so. I think so. It's just we are governed, so you can never go off track.
Yeah.
You know. Okay. So what was the thing that you were gonna say after I had answered that as well?
Ooh, do I even remember?
Fair enough. Now, so okay, fine. So let's watch this video, the second one, as an example, and then I can see what you think about this person, because I 100% agreed with what Patrick said on this one. You know, and in my head, I'm thinking, okay, all right, you know what? Let me not do this to viewers. They're gonna get annoyed with me. Let's play the video first. Sorry, this was on. It's on my mind. Like, I'm just like, honestly, everybody in that room except for Patrick just needed to go back to the womb.
477 applications over the last 2.5 years. Not even gotten
Fine, let's roll that.
not even gotten a call back once.
Why do you think?
I put in 400.
Oh no. Okay.
Changes of victim mentality.
I have put in 477 applications over the last 2.5 years. Not even gotten a call back once.
Why do you think?
I do not have a degree. I live in an area where the physical job market is very limiting.
Does your family live there? Mom, dad, everybody's in that same city?
Everybody was at one point.
Okay.
Most of them are dead now.
Sorry to hear.
It is what it is. It's poverty. We're kind of used to that on this side.
Why do you feel like you're a victim? The way you speak?
Because I exist.
What do you have on your resume? What do you offer?
Transportation expertise, logistics expertise.
How about I interview and I give you a job? And let's see what you do 90 days later.
Okay, I'll look up your company and all that kind of stuff.
But watch what you just did. You just said you applied to 477 companies who's not gotten back to you.
Yeah.
A business owner just made an offer to you. You became selected. What if I gave you a job, period, and I paid you a reasonable wage?
Are we talking a livable wage or a reasonable wage?
What do
and
you make
whose
right
version
now?
of reasonable are we
What do you
talking
make
about?
right
Your
now?
version of reasonable or my version of
But
reasonable?
you're trying to get a
this is
job and you're being
frustrating.
selected. It's going to work against
I mean,
you.
I'm
My
more than
offer's
more.
off the table
Okay, that's
because
fine.
you're going to be difficult to work with.
A real world example of the dangers of victim
This is so
mentality.
frustrating. So, okay. This is so frustrating. Actually, watching it again now, it's almost like night and day. You can see the difference in the mentality towards life, right? Now, the first thing that he said that upset me, can you play it again, please? I've just forgotten the very first thing that ticked me off.
I have put in 477 applications over the last 2.5 years. Not even gotten a call back once.
Why do you think?
I do not have a degree.
There you go.
I
Yeah,
live
that's
in an
fine.
area.
So, he's saying that I've put in 477 applications, right? No callback whatsoever. So now, a reasonable question, a question that, most likely you would ask as well. Well, why do you think that is? Now, he's saying, I do not have a college degree. I do not. So you know why they're not taking you. Wouldn't a college degree have been the first place to start looking? If you know
In
that...
his defense, though, I think they have to pay in the United States, so that requires a lot of money. So maybe he might not. Although
So
I think
there's no
community college, I think it's
funding
cheaper.
I mean, a loan like we do it in the UK that they then pay back. It has to be there and then.
No. There might be, but I'll give him a little bit of grace to say that perhaps maybe that could serve as a barrier, because maybe if you haven't got good credit, you haven't got a solid family that can maybe back you up or
100%.
whatever.
I can speak on behalf of bad credit.
So I'll give him a little bit of grace to say college degree as being an identified barrier. Fair enough. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not excuse, but that can be an understandable line of argument.
It can be
as a
an
starting
understandable
point.
excuse. Yeah, okay, fine. So let's sort out your college degree then. But that's the first thing that stood out to me. The second thing, which then Patrick goes on to talk about when you're watching the video, is like, are you willing to relocate? Of which he said, yes, I'm willing to relocate and things like that and whatnot. Now, the most annoying thing, Patrick didn't say that, okay, fine, I'm going to give you a job. Yeah. He asked, what are your expertise? What do you bring to the table? Now, again, it could just be me assuming, but if you've asked that and then I've said, I've given you the answer, I'm going to assume the job you're going to offer me is going to be within my expertise. Is that unreasonable? Even if it is unreasonable, for example, right? Even if it is 477, that's almost 500 companies you've applied to have not gotten back to you. You are not going to have to interview or anything like that, or maybe you're going to have to interview. But he is saying, I'm going to give you a job. Yeah. So I'm going to interview you. We're going to find a job for you, right? That should have been a straight up yes for me. Yeah. Straight up 100%, yes.
100%.
But what does he say? I'm going to research your company. Fine, fair enough. You want to know what you're going to be doing. You want to know what the company is about. Maybe they kill children. Fine. I'm gonna give him that. Let's say I give him that grace, and then it comes to the pay. Well, you are unemployed, my G. You are unemployed, and you're just sat there. Under what world are you gonna be there negotiating? Is it a reasonable wage or minimum wage? You're making nothing. Get off your behind. Go start somewhere. Did you see what I'm saying? This was so frustrating for me. And it's that mentality. You know, I ain't got a lot going on for me. But one thing I do understand is that I need to go work. Yeah, I need to go work, do my bit. Now, would we all love for someone just to come with millions and be like, you know what? Start a business. 100%. I ain't gonna say no. But this mentality, I'm gonna play another one that I didn't send you. You let me know what you think about this one. But that's why I was saying that this mentality, I cannot see it in any way, shape, or form being sort of like accommodated in Christendom.
No.
At all.
No.
Absolutely at all. And we're not talking about a bedridden person here. We're not talking about even a heavy disability. We're not talking about, look at him. He's absolutely fine. He's a young, good-looking guy, with a nice beard. He can walk. And do you see the way he carries himself? When I was saying night and day, these are two gentlemen. He's carrying himself like a baby. He actually looks like a cub next to Patrick. They say don't dress like your problems. I would have at least expected the body language. You're a man.
I feel like that's going into a lot of personal issues. I don't honestly be, but that's going into a whole different discussion there. But no, in regards to the initial points you made before you started picking apart his manhood, which is uncalled for.
Like a baby crying for milk.
But no, the initial points in regards to the attitude and mentality, 100% I agree. And for me, the thing is, it's not laziness. I feel like this is a disease that's worse than laziness.
Yes.
Which is, I don't know if this is the best word for it, but it's the best I have right now, which is entitlement.
That's what it is. Absolutely.
Because the issue is, I can understand someone applying for 477 jobs and not getting a response. Absolutely. Right? I can understand that. I mean, okay, I'm trying to be very fair.
But what jobs are you applying for?
I'm trying to be very. Firstly, I was happy with what you said, because a lot of it was sounding like me. That's why I wasn't saying much, because I was like, "Well, welcome to my world. Now you know how I feel when I'm talking about a lot of things."
My views are just purely on what I've watched. These are not ones that I transfer anywhere else. I'm not about to become you.
Now I'm like, now you know exactly how I feel about a lot of things. But but then if I was to apply grace, right? I understand that you're gonna apply to a lot of jobs and you won't hear any back, because well, after I finished uni, I had that experience. You send applications, you spend 2, 3, 4 hours on the applications, and you never hear anything back. Fine, I understand that. Now, obviously, first and foremost, you can have a discussion of how are you applying for these jobs, because I was a couple of years back, I was talking to some younger people who had been saying, the job market is really tough. You can apply to 200 jobs and you never hear anything back. But what they're doing is they're doing their CV, going on like CV library and just clicking apply, and sending the same CV to all of them.
Imagine.
I'm sorry, but that's not how job hunting works.
Imagine.
Maybe at one point that's how it worked, but not anymore. And so
every application needs to be tailored to the job you
if you want
for.
The job, you have to make
and you have to sell yourself.
Exactly,
easy.
right? So that's one thing. You can look at how were the jobs applied, but whatever, that's neither here nor there. But then the fact that you've applied for these jobs, you haven't had any luck, and someone is saying, okay, cool, fine, I'll give you an interview. Come to me. I'm sorry, any reasonable person is like, okay, I'm coming. Okay, I'm
absolutely.
You go to the interview.
I don't have a suit.
You go to the interview.
Can I come like this?
You have the interview. You get the job offer. If anything, after you get the job offer, then maybe you can start looking into the company. Is this a company I want to work with? What are the ethics?
Get experience. I don't care.
No. The thing is,
as Christians, we don't care.
One thing I will say is that I'm not going to be mad at you if you're not taking jobs because you feel like the company is going against your ethics, right? Each to their own, fair enough, right? But then you have to understand that's a choice you've made. Don't then sit there and don't sit there and act like a victim and say, "Oh no, woe is me." No.
Take responsibility.
The choices you make result in the life that you live. So if the choice you make is, you know what, I'm not going to work for any company that's not net zero, for example. That's fine. Cool. Good for you. I applaud you. But then understand that if you can't get a job because all mega corporations are not net zero yet and you're there struggling, you can't sit there and be like, oh, the world is so unfair. Oh, it's capitalism. No. It's the same with Christians, for example. One last point before you come back, because like I said, this is one of those topics I can keep talking because it touches so many aspects of life as well.
It does.
But it's the same thing with Christians, right? We Christians, we live by the Bible. We have morals, values, and everything that we should adopt, right? If we decide to stand by them and we lose our jobs as a result, and let's say we go to court and we lose the court appeal or whatever, fine, we can say, hey, you know what, this country is really turning away from God. The evil and the sin in this country has really infected the thing. That's fine. But what we can't do is then turn and say, oh, you guys are so mean to me. No, because we've made a decision to stand by our principles, and these are the consequences of those things.
It's tough being a Christian.
You can say it's tough being a Christian in this economy.
Because there's nothing that aligns with my beliefs where I can be and I'm serving God whilst I'm working.
100%.
But you're not 100%.
But you're not coming from a place of victimhood or not victimhood, almost like a child saying, the word, you guys need to help me, you guys need to help me, you guys need to help me. You're coming from a place of strength and power and pride to say, you know what.
And to be honest with you, if you were that particular person and you've done that, God will make a way.
Of course, God will make a way. Or he won't, if that's his plan. But the fact of the matter is, you will still be in his plan.
All right, I've just sent you another clip, just to finish off. I've sent you another clip. If you can just open it and play it up. This was a mental disability person. So if you screw to the beginning, all the way to the beginning, if you play it there, play it where it is.
Right here is Adam, Vinny, Rob, Tico, Brandon, and Humberto. Every time one of these guys laughs or moves, they don't realize I see them. I see them. Okay.
Sorry. Mateo also.
Go, Mateo as well. Go ahead, Rob. Play the clip.
Yeah, there you go. So he's actually playing the clip. So he
gets on the scale, and I think he gains like 6 or 7 pounds.
No, that's fine. Yeah, I'm gonna go.
Yeah, so what we're about to watch, basically, he's gonna play that section of the round table discussion, and then he's gonna play her reaction as well. She's reacted to it,
Right, okay.
And I want you to have a look at this. Did you watch it? You said?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. So I just want our viewers to catch this and see what's going on there. This was another frustrating one.
Well,
Chin, what are you doing?
Technology. Listen.
April is like,
when you go live, things happen. Don't you know about live TV?
I mean, all I'm seeing here is the mouse and the screen, and it's like you can't get the mouse in the right place.
No, are you not seeing the struggle I'm having with this?
Industry, I don't really stand for like.
Come do a drum solo on her head.
Bear with me 1 second. Hang on, let's see. This is what happens when you go live. You see, this is why there's always prep involved in this thing.
Let's talk about some of these wonderful people on Jubilee.
Let's go.
And I don't know which one to start off with. I say we start off with. Do we go with show the girl with mental illness? Is that the one?
Yes, sir.
Because she actually reacted as well. So
did she?
She did. Right here is Adam, Vinny, Rob, Tico, Brandon, and Humberto. Clip.
I'm also mentally ill, so that was something I had to deal with. But I'm mainly mentally ill because I am disabled in a capitalist country.
Tell me more about mentally ill. Who qualified you as somebody that's mentally ill?
Me and my doctor team.
Who convinced you that you're mentally ill?
Me and my doctor team.
What's the specific category of mental illness? Is there one? You know why I asked this question? Let me explain to why I asked this question.
So I don't even like the psychological industry. I don't really stand for like Sigmund Freudian politics or anything like that. I don't have access to even a result or a solution to my disability as someone with a connective tissue disorder. It's genetic.
Have you been able to go to different doctors and get yourself tested?
Yeah.
You have?
Yes.
And in California?
Yes, but not enough. I can't find a specialist.
You can't find a specialist? I can't
find a specialist
for who I am. Is there anyone in your life that's willing to pay for a specialist?
Well, they could they would if they had
money.
But
would you be okay if I pay for a specialist for you to go see?
Yeah.
Would you take money from a capitalist to help you go see specialist?
I mean, yeah, sure, why not?
I'm going to have you go see two. Do you live in California?
Yeah.
I'm going to have you go see 2 specialists. But would you also be open to seeing somebody else I choose as a psychologist that may...
No.
You're not.
No.
The reaction
You
was so
choose as a
quick.
psychologist.
I
You're
would-
choosing who gets to determine
No,
what my
what
mental
I-
health looks
what I-
like.
what I-
No.
Okay, then I wish you nothing but the
Pause it
best.
there for a sec.
Okay,
Pause
so
it there for a sec, right? What I really liked about Pat as well in this conversation, right? And then the other videos that we're going to talk about shortly. He was actually offering sort of like live help, yeah, which is something that you don't see often. Often people will go on these shows and they'll talk theoretically, genetically, and things like that. You can go get a loan, you can go do this. He was actually challenging people. There's another one, he told, okay, fine, what about if I give you your citizenship renouncing money, pay for a first class to any communist country that you want?
That was more a challenge as opposed to a help. But
Okay, yeah, that was a challenge. But he was saying, I'll first class, I'll give you that money, you go live in that country, and then the person crumbled and cried. No. So that's what I like. So now this is another example, right? He's offering, okay, fine. He's coming from a point of, I want to understand if you are actually that. Because obviously we're living in a world where now companies and hospitals, they are diagnosing people just to make money. We need them on tablets so they can buy tablets. Pharmaceutical companies are raking it in and so on and so forth. So he's sitting looking at this girl, which in this video, and that's why I want to play the reaction, because in this video, I'm looking at, I'm thinking, you are fine. Obviously we all have mental issues and things like that, lucky. But he's wanting to start from that aspect. I want to understand what you have. I want to see what is it that's actually stopping you from working, from doing A, B, C, D, and certain things. So he says, okay, and he didn't just offer the money. He's like, you know what? Is there someone that can? No. Okay, what if I do that? Okay, fine. He adds, I'm also gonna add 2 specialists, or especially I would choose as well to sleep with you. Why was that a deal breaker? Why was it a deal breaker?
Oh, it was a deal breaker because...
but why?
Because she doesn't want to be exposed to someone who will tell her otherwise.
That exactly.
It's as simple as that.
Exactly. You see? So she's comfortable sitting, knowing that, living with that. No interest whatsoever in changing, making a change for the better. There was, I don't know if it's the same conversation as well or another one. I think that was the other one with, I can't remember who, but he was asking them, are you open to me giving you books? Oh, Medi. I think it was Medi.
No, was
it the same one?
It was someone.
I've binged a lot of these things. But are you open to me giving you, certain business books and that and some of the, and it's like they're against that. It's like they're against making that change that they know will make them legit competitors. Now they have to work. I think it's a complete rejection of making the change.
I have to disagree with the statement that they're against making the change that they know will better them or change them for the better. Because again, this is the annoying understanding streak that I'm getting in my older years, which I'm not very happy about, but it's and I appreciate its development. Because for them, they have a worldview, they have an understanding, of what reality is. In the same way that Patrick understands the world in a certain way, in the same way Patrick understands that if you want something, work for it, grind, get it. They have an alternative view of reality.
Which is, if you want something, demand it from people that have worked hard so they can give it to you.
From your analysis, that's how you'd conclude it. That's not how they would conclude it.
Of course.
Again,
I agree with that.
Again,
I agree with that.
I'm not saying that your analysis is incorrect, because obviously I would agree that if I was talking to someone, that's what I would be trying to get them to understand, but that's not how they view it. For them, to simplify, for them, they come from the perspective that every human is worth as much as the next human. Nobody is worth more.
True.
Exactly, 100% true. Therefore, when it comes to this world and living on this world, why, for example, do we have to pay for rent, for example? Because everybody needs a shoulder to live under. Why am I being charged £1,000 a month for me to live, which is a basic human right? Food, for example.
But that house has had to be built somehow. How did it get there? What are they expecting the government to pay for the house?
That's what socialism and communism is.
Where is the government getting the money from?
That's what communism and socialism is. It is the government providing the basic, not even basic, all the human needs that the citizens need. So housing, food, and all those kind of things. They'll bring in like education and healthcare, even though again those are modern ideals that wouldn't have been around 2,400 years ago. If you were sick, your family either fixes you or you die, right? But whatever. You can obviously get into those weeds when you're discussing. But their understanding is, because every human is worth the other, why are things like food and groceries and fuel and healthcare and education, why do we have to pay for those things when they're basic things that every human is entitled to?
Do they not have benefits in America?
I mean, even if they do, the argument would be my benefits I don't get enough to cover my rent or my groceries or whatever. So their argument is, even if it is benefits, those benefits should be enough to cover my basic living things,
so that they don't have to go to work or do anything,
so that they don't have to struggle to pay rent, so that they don't have to struggle to find food. There's a reason why they go to food banks, for example, or the reason why they end up homeless, because they struggle. And to be fair, one thing we can't ignore is that there are people who are struggling in the world.
Yes,
100%. We can't ignore that.
And those people are not the 20.
Now, obviously, well, you never know. A lot of them said they were homeless, were struggling, whatever. Just because they're there talking doesn't suddenly mean once they leave they're honky dory. We're here recording, making content. Once I leave, I'm gonna go attend to my wife who's sick. You're gonna go and attend to your wife who's out of the country. So my point is, just because they're there, it doesn't mean everything life is honky dory, right? But my point is, I appreciate that. I understand where they're coming from.
So you,
however,
like that?
No, I wouldn't leave them like that. But then that's what I'm saying. However, that doesn't necessarily mean that the solution is you sit there, you cry into the moon.
To your disagreeing point, then.
No.
What would you say? So what would you say?
I would disagree. So for example, let me answer.
It's almost a fear of change.
No, let me answer. For example, she was unhappy with getting help from a psychiatrist that he chose, because in her psyche, in her version of the world, the psychiatrist and whoever has diagnosed her, they've been looking after her, they've been caring for her condition, tending to her with love, care, or whatever. She knows there's other psychologists out there who maybe take a much more hardline approach, who, there's been reports that people have committed suicide as a result of seeing some certain psychiatrists, there's stories where maybe someone has gone into
Yo, Chin is trying to get his words out, yo.
Honestly, it's but anyway, my point is, she has an experience in which she's been looked after, she's been cared for, she's been loved, she's been attended to, she's been told you have this condition and we're gonna look after you, right? She, in essence, doesn't want to put herself in a situation that might harm her, because she thinks if she sees an alternative psychiatrist or whatever, that could cause harm to her. In the same way where, like, a gay person goes to conversion therapy, for them, they see that as harm. They don't see that as medicine. They see that as harm. You're causing harm to this person. So for her, that reluctance, that initial, oh, hell no, if you're choosing hell no, could be coming from a place of, no, because you're going to cause me more harm than I already feel. Right now, I'm being cared for to the best of their ability. You expose me to this psychiatrist might cause me more harm. That could be the position that she's coming from. So it's not from a, oh no, I know you're offering me help, but I don't want it. It's no, what you're offering me could actually cause me harm. Do you understand it now? That's what it is. And unfortunately or fortunately, if we are to have conversations with anybody who thinks alternative to what we think about anything, I think understanding where they're coming from to that detail is a good place to start. Because then, let's be fair, everybody makes decisions based on motivation, love, but most times it's fear. It's fear and like a hesitancy of change. And so if you can address someone's fear to say, okay, listen, I know you fear capitalism because you think A, B, C, D. However, this is how capitalism can actually address that fear that you have. Again, at this point, I can't say I'm pro-capitalism or against. I'm sort of in between. I'm finding out, right? By just using this as an example, if we want to get through to people, we have to address the root core of their understanding and their reality. And a lot of these people, it is fear. It's fear, it's disillusionment, it's displacement, and maybe it's even a sense of belonging for a lot of them. They feel like they don't belong in certain spaces. Okay, I'm going too far now. But yeah, that's the only thing I was going to say, that I think it's unfair to say they're refusing help that they think will help them, but then they're saying, no, I don't want it anyway. No, because no human in their right mind would do that. So if you find someone who's refusing something that's good for them, but they're refusing it, the question is, okay, why are they refusing it? Because no one in the right mind would refuse something that they know is going to make them feel better.
One would argue she's not in the right mind. That's why she's refusing it.
Well,
but anyway,
fair enough. I can't argue too much about.
I hear that. I'm not gonna fight it. I hear it. I'm not gonna fight it. I think that's a more nuanced conversation to be had, like you've pointed out. I think that's going into other avenues, yeah. Because if your point is, if I was sat down with somebody and we were having that conversation, and my aim is to get them to change their worldview because I feel like that's not benefiting them and I need them to see the world the way I do, then of course you need to understand what they're afraid of so that you can navigate that. So no arguments there. But I do also think that sometimes we can demonstrate or display certain things even unknowingly. So for example, I can't say that she's scared of change because she knows it's gonna, she might be challenged. Now, she may not be thinking that, but that's an actual thing.
Yeah,
that, she's going to be challenged by this new psychologist, and she doesn't know how that's going to go. She'd rather stay in her comfort zone. Yeah. You remember in our masculinity conversations, we spoke about one of the biggest killers for men is comfortability. A man would rather sit and be watching Netflix and chill and something like that than be out there in the trenches trying to figure it out. It's like, and I understood that completely.
Yeah, 100%. And it's fair as well because someone did make a good point to say people in this kind of situations, sometimes it's better for them to be told that, oh, you have a disease. And again, I'm not saying they don't, but if you reinforce that, oh yeah, it's not your fault, it happened to you, you can't do anything about it.
And then offer a way out.
It's easier. No, it's easier for them to understand that than as opposed to, okay, no, you do have this thing, but you can still do something about it, because then now the accountability is on them. So now it's like, okay, it's like someone who's like disabled, for example. You can tell them, oh yeah, you're disabled, you're in a wheelchair, you know what, it's fine, stay home, get benefits. What can you do? You were born with no legs. Okay, it's unfortunate, but what can you do? As opposed to other people in that situation, they're like, okay, I have no legs. Okay, great. What can I do in the world with no legs? They still take that on them. It's okay. I can't change this thing. But okay, what can I do with it? And then you find.
And granted, not everyone is gonna become a TED talk like that.
No, of course, no. But it's just to go out, they play sports. Some of them end up as Paralympics and stuff like that. Because for them, this is the cards I've been dealt. Great. What can I do with them?
Which is the hard sort of like mental state to have.
100%.
The human nature, I suppose, is more inclined to war is me. War is me than. Anyway, so after watching this video, we will sum up because I do understand that we've been here, there, everywhere. And simply put, to be honest with you, I was very shocked by the views of these people that sat around the table. So even if we don't go as deep as what does the Bible say about, economic systems and things like that, just by watching these 20 people and the arguments that they brought, I understand what Chin has said, but I would say that if you are a Christian, if you are a young, believer in Christ, out there trying to make it, this is not the mentality to have at all. Things will happen and everybody needs a helping hand, but this is not the mentality to have. I would strongly discourage this mentality. I really liked the next video that I watched. We'll just touch on it before we move on, which is the billionaire that was surrounded, right? Now, this was interesting. If you do have time, go find it, go watch it. It's only, 30 minutes long. They started off hostile. And that's the thing. People hate billionaires. I was so disappointed. I was so disappointed that they brought in a very nice billionaire. He was very understanding.
But why?
He agreed because I wanted them to get an arrogant one.
No, well, I mean,
that they can be challenged. Because
I'll tell you why. I understand where you're coming from, but unfortunately, that doesn't do anything to mend the bridges.
It doesn't, but it would have made me feel good.
No, for what they did here, which is bringing. I really like. I really like this guy. I really, because you could tell he was a nice guy, humble guy, and you can tell he's just a guy who was rich.
Yeah,
and
he was. I like the question that he was asked. In this economic system, if you had to do it all over again, do you think you'd be as successful? And he said no, and that's the starting point in the sense that, like what you're saying, we are all agreeing that economically things are very challenging right now, extremely challenging. Very difficult for a lot of young people to get to certain places. I agreed. I'm not gonna lie to you. I loved him. I loved the way he answered them. He was very understanding. He is a human who's got money.
Yes.
Okay. They started off very hostile. You could tell in the way they were asking their questions. But he's come to me, and this just reminded me of that verse. A gentle something. Because
a gentle answer to wrath.
Because the way he was answering them, by the end of the day, by the end of the conversation, honestly, guys, watch this. I would encourage it. Watch it. By the end of the conversation, it had stopped being more you billionaires to actually seeking questions.
Yeah.
You saw what I mean? To actually okay. So what are your opinions on like what we should do for the community? Which is the conversation that we want versus you guys should be helping the community. And I'm thinking, you've just started. You probably don't know this guy. Why are you so hostile?
Yeah.
He's what done what he had to do. He said he owns he's the owner of Morgan & Morgan, which is the law firm from what I understand. And obviously he ventures into property and other things and so on and so forth. That's how he accumulated his wealth.
Park, I think.
Attractions, he's got quite a few theme parks as well, all across America. So that's how he accumulated his wealth, basically. It's like, you don't know this guy. He doesn't know you anything. Why are you so hostile? Why are you so angry? I don't know. I really don't know. But that was my interest in all this. And obviously, I think we've tackled this by, once again, keeping it extremely simple in the sense that as a Christian, in whatever field you are in, what you say, in whatever, let's say, economic system you find yourself in however manner you find yourself in, the Spirit will always govern you. So the right thing will be the right thing all across the board. Even if you end up in crazy lots of money for whatever reason, I don't know, you've done a heroic thing and then the king has offered you money, which is still a dream of mine.
The king never offered. When does a king offer money?
Well, if people
do the most for the thing, and what they do is, okay, we'll add 3 letters at the beginning of your name.
What if I told them you keep the letters? They're like, what do you?
Let me know how that goes for you.
I have to do the hero thing first. I'm waiting for an opportunity. Sometimes I'm just on the traffic lights looking at, is there a car coming that doesn't have brakes? And then I stop in the name of Mr. Plot.